leverage is not something that you use to trade with more money than you have. All right, this is very, very important. Leverage is not a tool to trade with more money than you have. If you're trading with more money than you have, you're going to get wrecked and you're going to lose everything, okay? Leverage is a tool if you don't want to keep all your money on the exchange, or leverage also doesn't even matter as long as you're risking the right amount of money, okay? So I already kind of went over this, but if you have two trades, all right, trade number one, where you have a 4-to-1 risk-reward ratio, all right, where you're potentially going to make 4 times more money than you're risking, and then you have trade number two, all right, where you're also going to be risking 4 times, earning 4 times more money than you're risking, okay? Because both of these trades have a 2% stop loss, okay? So you know in advance where your stop loss is. If we have $1,000 and we're risking, right? And we're risking $10, which is 1% of our account, okay? We could put $500 on the trade, right? Because we have $1,000. Our max risk is 1%. So if we have $1,000 and we know that we are not going to allow ourselves to get stopped out of a trade more than a 1% loss, then if we need a 2% stop loss, we have to put $500 on the trade, because $500 negative 2%, that is a $10 loss, right? Now, whether or not I entered this trade here with 1x leverage or 5x leverage, it makes no difference, because if I take $500 at 1x leverage and I have $1,000 in my account and I put $500 on a trade, if I get stopped out, I lose $10. If I'm using 30x leverage and I put $500 on the trade, if I get stopped out, I'm losing $10. The only difference is how much of your margin is on the trade, but it does not affect how much you are losing, and it does not affect how much you are earning on the trade. Most YouTubers I've heard talk about leverage, I guarantee they're not traders, okay? Because they don't explain it right. They say it multiplies your risk and it multiplies your reward. That's not true if you do it right. If you're gambling, if you think to yourself, I have $100, I'm going to use 50x leverage so I can put $5,000 onto my trade, every trade. That's called gambling, right? That will lose all your money. But if you say to yourself, I have, let's say, $1,000 and I'm going to risk 1%, and I know I have a 2% stop loss, so even though I'm using 50x leverage, I'm only putting $500 on the trade, you're not risking or gaining any more money, all right? What are the purposes of leverage? If you want to trade multiple coins at the same time, right? Let's say you want to trade Bitcoin and ETH at the same time, but you only have $1,000. Well, if you put that $1,000 on your Bitcoin trade, now you have no free margin to trade ETH. So you leverage up. Let's say you use 30x, 50x leverage. Now you could be in 3 trades at the same time. All 3 trades are risking 1%, but you can do that because of your leverage. Or if you don't want to keep all your money on the account, keep it in cold storage, right? You trade with a small percentage of your total capital on the exchange, use leverage. Or psychological reasons. Okay, for me, if I have a $1,000 account and I know I can't lose more, I don't want to lose more than $10, $15 max, to avoid playing the stop loss game, sometimes higher leverage is better. If you're using good risk management and you know, let's say you know your stop loss should be 1%, right? You know your stop loss should be 1%. Your liquidation price is right here, okay? Let's say your stop loss that you know you should use is right here, the first white line. Your liquidation price is the second white line, right? Sometimes, we've been there, you play the stop loss game. You're so convicted that price is gonna go up that you move your stop loss because you're like, we're just gonna do this, right? So you move your stop loss down, and guess what? We don't do that, right? We do this. We come down, you know, we hit your stop loss, we come up a little bit, we come down even lower, right? Now you're really in the red beyond what your stop loss was supposed to be. You're like, you know what? I'm just gonna hold it a little longer. Let me move my stop loss down more, okay? If you're on low leverage and you're not in the right place mentally, this could really take what should be a 1% loss, make it a 3, 4, 5, or who knows, sometimes people hold it for a week hoping it goes back up. If you get liquidated, and let's say your planned loss was 1%, because of your liquidation, now you're down 2%. Guess what? You're still better off than if you had held that trade playing the stop loss game, because the liquidation gets you out of the trade. And because you leveraged up a small amount of capital, that loss, that liquidation is not that bad. Okay, so there's a lot of reasons to use leverage. But if you're new to trading and people ask, what leverage should I use? How do I use leverage? Don't even worry about that in the beginning, right? If you're longing and shorting and you're starting with a few coin pairs, your leverage should not be higher than 5x, 10x at the most, and you should never allow yourself to get liquidated. Your stop loss is what determines your loss, and your take profits is what determines your reward, okay? And if you are losing more money than you should be because you're using high leverage, you are not trading, you are gambling, two different things, and you need to go back to the drawing board and you need to, get back on that, all right?